This is the Pinstripe Chronicles bringing to you an update on the Yankees and the winter meetings. Here we go. The winter meetings has started. And what are the Yankees actually going to accomplish? That is the question for y'all today. I will be joined by Uncle Tats very shortly. Just has some things to do. But in the meantime, let's kick it off. Brian Cashman has been talking. And whenever he talks, we tend to listen because it gives you a pretty good idea of where the Yankees are and what they're planning on doing. Sounds to me like my contention last week that the Yankees are pretty self-satisfied is coming across because Brian Cashman already is saying how happy he is with the roster and that the roster is already really good and that they're already covered in a bunch of areas. And he doesn't really have much to do. He said all those things, so that's not a great start. He's described Anthony Volpe as a very good player. So he's really happy with Anthony Volpe. Even though Anthony Volpe is a career 662 OPS and an 84 OPS plus, all massively below average. Of course, he calls Anthony Volpe a very good player, so it doesn't sound like he's wanting to do anything at shortstop. That's great. What else has he got planned here? The outfield. Well, he's talked a lot about Cody Bellinger. He also mentioned that the Yankees are overly left-handed, so at least he acknowledged that. However, not too many names have been mentioned that they would be looking to add a righty bat anywhere. So I'm not even quite sure what they have in store for us because it's just we're not sure. All I've really heard of is Cody Bellinger. That's really the only name that has consistently been liked with the Yankees. So let's bring up a little tweet here from Brian Hoke. Let's go. Let's get this up here. Here we are. The Yankees don't believe they have as much work to do as last year. Brian Cashman. We're certainly open-minded. I think first and foremost, let's start with the premise. We have good players on this roster. We have really good players on this roster. And we are covered in most all areas that you need to be covered. Now, as you can see right underneath, I wrote shocking levels of delusion because that is levels of delusion that is quite incredible before the Christmas period. Let's be honest here. Let's be completely open, transparent. Take the Yankee rose-tinted glasses off and let's look at this lineup. Now, the pitching rotation, I think, is great. Injury-prone, but great. But if you look at this lineup, apparently there's really good players on this roster. We're covered in most all areas, right? Okay, so catcher, Austin Wells is a below-average offensive catcher in terms of the majors. So you just go with his stats last year. Below average, right? First base, we don't technically have a first baseman on the 40-man roster. We don't. Now, you could say Ben Rice, but he's not a first baseman. He's a catcher. But even if you want to put Ben Rice there, okay, well, you're fine there, I suppose. But he's not really defensive first baseman either. He can't really play defense. But okay, I'll give you that then. If you want, give me Ben Rice at first base, fine. Second base, fine. Shortstop, massively below average. Not just below average, like among the worst in baseball, if not the worst in baseball. Anthony Volpe at shortstop, right? So you got that. Third base, below average offensively at third base. So that's already catcher, short, and third. There's three positions already that you're below average in offensively. Left field, we don't have a left fielder. That's four positions. Okay, that's great. Center field, Trent Grisham. That's a question mark. That is a massive question mark. You're on the hook for $22.5 million. Now last year alone, he was above average offensively. Great, very good. Defensively, he was like minus 12 defensive runs saved. This guy took a massive step back defensively. So, can you say that you're really covered at center field? That's a stretch, in my opinion. There are no right-handed bats in this lineup apart from Big G and Aaron Judge. Now, Big G is towards the end of his career. Let's be honest here. And you can't rely on him to play 162 games. So you probably need a little bit of power coming from the bench in order to cover some of the games that Big G is going to miss. So the idea that we are covered in most all areas that you need to be covered, I mean, that's a stretch. That's a massive stretch. I've already named 4, maybe 5 positions where the Yankees are below average in going into next year. I mean, that's shocking levels of delusion. Let's be honest. The Yankees are self-satisfied. The Yankees are a self-satisfied organization. That's what they are. Let's look into the chat here. What we got going on? What's everyone got to say here in the chat? We got the early bird, and that's Jonathan. Salute to you, Jonathan. We got, you have to forgive me, these new ats that YouTube have added is a little bit odd here, but we got JKP. What they will actually accomplish is letting the Blue Jays get Tucker and then losing division again. Get a star for that, my guy, because that is spot on. Stevie B says hello. Got Healing in Men's Hearts here. And we've got Uncle Tad's joining us. I'm expecting realistically a minor deal for a bullpen arm and maybe a trade for a left fielder. Otherwise, I'm expecting them to do next to nothing. Exactly. I'm kind of there too, man. And by the way that Brian Cashman spoke, does that give you guys any hope that they're going to do anything that's like major here? I don't see it. Acevedo, I know. Tears of laughter. Volpe, very good player. I know. Absolutely hilarious. The levels of delusion is mind-blowing. Volpe is a very good player. There's not one metric to suggest he's even a good player, let alone a very good player. Spectacularly below average offensively and pathetic defensively last year. And Brian Cashman wants to blame it all on his shoulder. And forgetting about the fact that last year and the year before, he was still below average offensive. Very good player. It's just disgusting levels of delusion.
You know, what's going on, everybody? Donald, thanks for holding the fort while I was letting the dog out.
You know it.
One thing with Volpe, right? And it does come to the term that you were saying and was seeing in the chat is delusional, and I think that's where we're at with Volpe, right? I think I figured out the best way to categorize his play: high potential, low production. That's what we've gotten out of Volpe, and it doesn't work when you try to build a championship team. That's the matter of the fact of it. You know, as far as the kicking off with the winter meetings, I'm not expecting much. I'm really not. You know, what are the Yankees going to accomplish? Pretty much nothing. There's too much to build for them to really make anything productive in the next day or so. I don't see where they're going to pull this miracle rabbit out of a hat where we're going to be like, you know what, they're on the right track. They need a whole roster reconstruction.
They do, but they don't want to face that, and that's why I believe that they're a self-satisfied organization. They're no longer in the business of winning championships. They'll tell you that they are, but that's purely just to sell seats and sell merchandise, and
that's all it's about.
Yeah, which is really the priority. But the business of winning championships, they're no longer in that business, because if they're in the business of winning championships, they would never ever, with a straight face, be so happy with where they're at. Here is the reality. If you take away all the bluster that we get from the Yankees, the reality is the Yankees lost the division. They were in the World Series 2 years ago. The following year, they lost the division. There is no excuse for that. They lost the division, right? And then they scraped through the wild card, which the Yankees are so incredibly proud of. Right, fine. Made it to the DS and got completely blitzkrieged, completely obliterated in the DS. They weren't competitive in the DS. They weren't even close to being competitive in the DS. DS was a laugher. It was. They got obliterated by the Toronto Blue Jays. And the Yankees are sitting here telling you guys, we're really proud. We're delighted. This is great. Great roster. We're covered in all areas. I mean, to say that with a straight face, I've not heard the Dodgers say that. And they're a dynasty. I've not heard the Blue Jays say that, and they were in the World Series last year and obliterated the Yankees. Not heard that. But you've heard that from the team that got obliterated in the DS. I don't want to hear any Yankee fan defending that. Now, I'm not saying the roster is bad. Don't get me wrong. The roster is very good. It is a good roster, right? It is a good roster. It's good enough to make a playoff run. But the idea that you sit there and say that we're covered in all areas and we're a very good roster and all this stuff is delusional, considering what the target should be, and it should be championships. And this team is not a championship caliber team if I've already named 4, maybe 5 guys that are below average at their position or offensively going into next year. Come on. You say that with a straight face. Let's not lie to us here. Let's not lie to us here. You know what I'm saying? What's Stuff and Things, like that name. The Yankees are so delusional they'll end up bringing back Gleyber Torres. Become the Bronx Pretenders. Exactly. They're not in the business of championships anymore, and it's frustrating. So some of the quotes that Brian Cashman had to say doesn't really, give you a lot of hope. And I was hoping for some hope. You know what I'm saying? Because there is stuff that needs to be done here. There's some serious work that needs to be done here. Tats, have you heard anything that would give you hope?
No, I haven't heard one thing. I think the situation has gotten worse when you look at through some of the things on social media, some of the discussions, and our friend Jonah, who was a fill-in on the upper deck for a little while, was putting out there that they don't, the Yankees are not looking at the bullpen as a priority. Meanwhile, we're going right after the season. I had said, I'm not concerned about the bullpen. But then she points out that they non-tendered a lot of their bullpen arms. So maybe the bullpen is also something that is going to be lacking going into the season, where there's going to be a lot of question marks. So I think the Yankees just right now they're digging themselves in such a hole. That's why I'm saying it's a delusional effort at the winter meeting, this whole season, especially with the winter meetings going on. There's too many holes to fill to stop the boat from sinking. That's unfortunately where the Yankees are right now. So the only thing they can accomplish is maybe filling half of it and hoping you could paddle your way to shore where you can survive for the next year. But I don't see where Cashman is able to really save it from sinking. He doesn't have that cachet anymore. And that swagger amongst the GMs where he can wine and dine. He just doesn't have that ability.
Yeah.
So the Yankees are just going to continue to tread water They're going to hold their head up high when they get above 500, and that's going to be their win. It's and if they get to the playoffs, they'll say, "Well, it's a crapshoot." You know, I'm so, and I hate you, Donald. We've known each other many years. I'm never this much of a pessimist when it comes to the Yankees. They've given me nothing to go. They're trending in the right direction. They're not. It's the honest truth.
Yeah, I know. And listen, I really want to like talk names. I really want to get into the names in this market because there are some really good players in this marketplace. I mean, we already know about the big names, the Kyle Tuckers, and the fact that the Yankees aren't even in discussions with Kyle. They haven't even had Kyle Tucker in their building. Says to me that he's not even
invited him this
on the
year.
radar. So I mean, he's the best player in the market in a position of need, and the Yankees don't have him really on their radar. I mean, they'll maybe check in on him in order to maybe drive the price up, but it doesn't look realistic. So the only name the Yankees have really been linked with is Cody Bellinger. And
which is fine, but it's not enough.
Yeah, but Cashman's reiterated his interest in Bellinger, but he also kind of left it open to suggest that maybe Bellinger isn't coming back because he was talking about us being overly left-handed. So do you think maybe he's going to pivot and go for a smaller move and maybe bring in a righty bat somewhere? But where's he going to place this righty bat? Considering he says he's already happy at third, he's happy with McMahon at third, so there's nothing to be done there. Shortstop, same with Volpe. So unless he wants to add maybe a righty bat for the bench, unless he sees left field, because as he says, every position's covered.
So this is this is the team that we're going into the season with, and they're going to fall on their face, and they're going to find a way to spin it where it wasn't their fault. Yes, we understand that there's the talent throughout baseball is more spread out now, which is great. If that's going to motivate you to go that extra mile when the opportunity presents itself. And the opportunity is presenting itself right now with the Yankees to go the extra mile, get a Tucker. Make a big trade. Solidify your rotation, even though you know that some guys are coming back. Don't wait. Because, not that I want to speak into existence, but you don't know when these guys are in rehab if there's going to be a setback. And then you got to wait an extra couple of weeks. How many times have we seen series in April and early May come back and bite the Yankees at the end of the year? No, we've seen it too many times. What are they going to do to address the June swoon that's Cashman's specialty? Because the roster he gives to Bone. Because Bone don't know how to manage. He can't manage his way out of the paper bag. If things are going well, he looks great.
Oh no, you're right.
You're right. When things start to go wrong, I just don't think he has the capability to bring his team together to rally and get themselves out of it. Like that's not his specialty. His specialty is understanding the analytics and the situations. But once the situation starts to turn, Boone's like, well, I didn't have this on my bingo card. I don't know how to play. And
don't forget, Aaron said that he's the least analytical guy in the dugout.
Oh, that's such a crock of shit, Donald, and you know it. It is. I'm sorry. Now you got me cursing on a Monday. You understand?
This is great. This is hilarious.
I'm just sick and tired. It's the same stupid thing over and over again. Every offseason, we go through the same headache. And then they'll bring in one player, they'll bring in a player that we're clamoring for. And we're all right, the Yankees are flexing. Well, anybody can put a filter on and take a good picture. It's what you're able to, how you present yourself in real life is what people are going to see the most. And the Yankees, that's all they are. They're a mirror selfie with a filter.
It's interesting. Good point.
I like that. Actually, I
let's
think
look
that's
at some
better
more
analogies.
Yeah, that's a very good one. Let's look. I mean, the best person to go with is Brian Cashman in these things, and luckily we do have a very transparent GM, so he does say what he's on when it's on his mind. Brian Cashman mentioned numerous times that he is open-minded to what he calls challenge trades on a lot of our talented player. So I asked him for an example of a challenge trade he offered the 2012 Michael Pineda Jesus Montero deal. Well, that is interesting. I wonder what could be classified as a challenge trade on a lot of our talented players. So, I mean, at least he's open-minded to such things. So maybe there's a trade on the horizon rather than a free agent.
So let's bring in a very difficult discussion.
Okay.
Talk about a talent trade, right? Everybody, Jesus Montero, may he rest in peace. He passed away.
Yes.
Tragically. When he was traded, we were like, what? But we it wasn't a popular move in the moment. Yeah, and we really weren't sure what why did I just blank out on his name? Pineda, thank you. We knew Pineda had a lot of talent. We weren't sure how it was going to translate, and he wrote his own fate. But he was solid for us until he got caught with the pine tar and his career was done. If say we're able to make a deal for, say, Seattle is willing to trade one of their pitchers, get Kirby, and the centerpiece in their trade is Rice. Do you make that move?
Well, no, because we don't have a first baseman.
Because one of my favorite sayings is, some trades, sometimes a necessary trade is going to hurt, but I know we don't have a first base. I'm just saying a really popular player that still has a hole or two in their ability, because we're not sure, can he be an everyday catcher? That's still yet to be proven. The potential is there. He also has the potential to be a solid first baseman. He just doesn't. He's a great bat without a position right now.
Right. Well, it looks like they're giving him a position, and that position is going to be first base from everything that Brian Cashman's indicated. So I would say that Ben Rice is going to be here next year. And to be honest, I'm pretty down on a lot of the Yankees' development these days of these players. But I have to say, I think Ben Rice has been one of the anomalies. He's been tremendous. He's been excellent. So I'm very high on him. So I'm not trading him under any circumstances. There's no circumstances in which I would get rid of Ben Rice. Ben Rice is one of the only bright spots to a very poor.
I pulled the name that really would aggravate most of the fans. But it's, if you're able to get a, say they sign Alonso, now it opens up, to make a trade where you can really get a steal of a trade with a guy with the potential like a Rice. And I'm not, believe me, I'm not looking to just dump Rice. That's absolutely not what I'm saying. But, I'm going back to what you were saying. We were trying to,
define creative trades. I mean, I would want a creative trade for like a Fernando Tatis. He's a righty bat who's elite at his position. And he would change the trajectory of the offseason. I want I want a player that is a game changer. Tatis would be that.
I think Tatis is a good. That would be a great trade.
Yeah, that would be
But
amazing.
you're gonna have some names in there that fans are gonna be. Why are you trading? For this guy.
So Brian Cashman again, Cody Bellinger would be a great fit for us. I think he'd be a great fit for anybody. I think he's a very talented player that can play multiple positions at a high level and hits lefties, hits righties. He's a contact guy. And I think our environment was a great one for him. So, I mean, it's pretty clear that the Yankees are plan A, B, and C right now is Cody Bellinger. I think on the free agent market, I think that's the only real major free agent that the Yankees are really in on. And it's, again, someone that we already had in the building. So it's not exactly, doesn't take much creativity, does it? No, but Bellinger obviously would fit in a number of positions. So they're all in on that. I mean, that's really the main takeaways there. But he also had some comments regarding McMahon. It sounds to me like the plan is to go into next year as with McMahon being their third baseman. How would you feel about that, Uncle Taz?
It's Well, I like McMahon. I thought it was the right trade to make at the time. We really needed a solid third baseman. His bat's alarming. I just don't. It's just one more. McMahon's just another hole in the lineup. Defensively, I don't think there's. I can't find one flaw. They're not open to be creative enough to do any. I'm really at a loss for what this team is really. They've broken me because
sorry.
any scenario we throw out, we know they're not going to do it. We can talk about hypotheticals all day, and it's fun. I enjoy it, the back and forth with the chat, But are we really? I'm leaning more towards this is where they're going to go. They're going to lean hard on Bellinger. I think that's their focus. I think they have rose-colored glasses on. They are so focused on Bellinger. Everybody else around them is going to fall to the wayside. Bellinger, they're going to miss out on because there's going to be a discrepancy with the years, and we're going to be fucked. We're going to be left with nothing.
All right, let's bring up some more comments from Brian Cashman. Asked about available third baseman yesterday. Cashman had positive things to say about Ryan McMahon. Maybe we can unlock some things. I was excited. He was one of the productive players in our postseason run. He's right about that. On both sides of the ball, and certainly makes our pitching staff better. That's right. He's right about that too, especially when you have high ground ball guys like Fried and Rodon. So I think he was a good get. But are there areas to improve on? Sure. And we look forward to seeing if we can. Says to me like they're planning on going all in on Ryan McMahon at third base, but maybe he's just being political. But there's no real reason to be political. You've already got him under contract, so you know what I'm saying? Says to me like they're going all in with him at third base. I'm okay with it, but that means that you have to strengthen other areas of the infield. If McMahon's your third baseman, you have to be realistic and say he is a below average offensive third baseman. Then you need to upgrade in other areas of the infield in order to counter the below average production at third and short. Thus, you need to have really high production at like catcher or first. They've got that at second with Jazz Chisholm, even though he is a bit of a hothead.
I would say loudmouth, yeah.
Loudmouth, hothead is pretty much a nice way of putting it. Statistically, his numbers are right on point, so at least you have that. But you do need to upgrade in other areas. Um, so where could you go? I would say Polanco would be a really good option at short. But he's already talking about Anthony Volpe. He's coming back in May, and he's a very good player / elite. So doesn't sound like they want to do anything there either. Um, Other names I've heard, Brandon Donovan, I've certainly heard has been thrown around with the Yankees a couple times. But he's a lefty bat. Where would they play him? Maybe they just use him as a utility guy, or maybe they stick him in left field. Um, I don't know. There's question there, but Brandon Donovan is certainly someone that I've heard being talked about as an option. Have you heard any names yourself, Uncle T, in the grapevine?
No, there's been nothing. I'm not hearing anything from anybody. I know, and Damian brought it up earlier in the chat that Jason161 was saying that Donovan's becoming more of a realistic option. That would include moving on from McMahon, which I'd be all for that. We like Donovan. We've been talking him up for a while now, not just this whole season. I think Polanco's a name in the trade world that's been floating around. I still think Quan is on the table. I think that if they're looking at free agency to solve all their problems, they're going to accomplish nothing. I think their best asset right now is making trades, but they've made so many trades, and now they've not intended multiple bullpen arms. I think that's why I was saying in the beginning it was leaving me to be a little more pessimistic this offseason. I don't think they have the enough pieces to make the big trade without giving up a top guy.
Oh no, they'll have to give up a top name, bro. But what I will say is we do have a very productive farm system that could land us.
I'm not saying the farm system is trash, but you're only going to be able to make a move or two, without completely draining the entire farm.
No, I get that point. Jack Curry did mention that the Yankees have been having conversations about Mackenzie Gore, Ryan Lopez, and Sandy Alcantara. So it looks like the Yankees are focused in the trade market and pitching heavily. We know that the Yankees have been very interested in Alcantara. Mackenzie Gore.
I always liked Mackenzie Gore.
Yeah, he has been kicked around. I mean, those are good pitchers, no doubt about it. I could see the Yankees making a trade for one of those guys for sure, as Jack Curry mentioned. Chris Kirshner has said that Kyle Tucker visited the Blue Jays spring training facility near Tampa. Brian Cashman said Tucker has not visited Steinbrenner Field, nor did he say whether he expects him to visit at all.
Well, did they invite him?
What a disgrace.
Did they even invite him to meet with the Yankees?
No, of course not.
So why would he go if he's not invited? Don't show up to my house if I don't want you there.
We're not getting Kyle Tucker. It's quite clear. That's quite obvious. It's just a disgrace. You're not even entertaining it. God. He also says that Carlos Rodon expects to return in either late April or early May. He mentioned that Garrett Cole is probably May-June. So, I mean, there are going to be some holes to add a starting pitcher. Cashman was pretty open that he's interested in Tatsuma Imai. I would love that. That's one guy that I would certainly love to acquire. So I think the Yankees are really focused on pitching. It's pretty clear that that's where the areas are. So if they maybe don't land Tatsuma Imai, then maybe they go and make a trade for an Alcantara. I think everyone is being basically available in the Marlins, so you maybe do that. Uh, the Yankees are having and starting pitching. That's for sure. That we've certainly gathered that. Um, Tats, how would you do it? Would you sign Tatsu Imai, or would you prefer to make a trade for like a Mackenzie Gore, sign him a Mike King, bring him back to the Yanks, or would you make a deal for a Sandy Alcantara? What do you think?
I go after the line first. I go that be if I'm going, my in pitch for pitching, that'd be my priority. Just because of his comments about wanting to beat the Dodgers,
Yeah,
and wanting to oppose them. If I really want to be if I want to be a team that's going to make a deep playoff run, I'm going to have to get through the Dodgers, and
yeah.
I want a guy with that kind of swagger. Or that guy that's got the confidence, along with an ego, to say, yeah, I can challenge and beat these guys.
I
That's the kind of
totally
thing I
agree.
want on my roster.
I love that mentality.
Yep.
I, it's too easy to say I just want to join the best. I want to beat the best. That's a great mentality, and that should be their main priority. According to Brian Hoke, Cashman declined to say if there are plans to have Imai visit New York. I don't know what to read into that necessarily, but I don't know exactly if the Yankees are going to be willing to spend the money required in order to sign a Cody Bellinger plus an Imai. Um, so I don't know what they would do in to pivot from that because of the payroll ramifications, and we know that there are some. But Brian Cashman picked a fight with Michael Kay. Did you see that?
Well, that I missed.
Yeah, he did. He did. He went after Michael Kay. So we will get into that in a minute. Did anybody else in the chat come across that? It was interesting. It was in regards to the payroll discussion. Um, and he basically said that he didn't know where Michael Kay was getting that information from. Here we go. I got the tweet here. And I'll pull that up. Here we go. Right. Here's Cashman on this. You'd have to ask Michael where he got that information. Last time I spoke with you guys, I told you that Hal hadn't given me a drop dead number, and that's still the case. Hal's exact words to me continue to be take everything that's out there to me, which I will continue to do. I haven't been told by Hal anything like that, but you can ask Michael more about it if you want. Meow. This is in regards to Michael Kay saying that the Hal has, from what he's heard, has a budget in place for the Yanks going into this year. So, Taz, what's your read on that situation?
That's pretty much Cashman going to, telling Kay, stay, let me worry about information getting to the media. Look, Kay has a job to do and Cashman has a job to do.
Yeah.
Kay's going to try, Kay's, pretty much at this stage because just like we're all doing, the only thing you can do is talk about things that you're looking for and hope that it sinks into the front office to make a move. Kay still has a show to do. So yeah, you're gonna start speculating. You're gonna start going, what if this, what if that, and if Cashman can't handle it, then do something to change the narrative. How about you make a move this, in the next couple of days, sign somebody or make a trade so we can stop with this, speculative bullshit. Is he going to get this guy? What about this guy? What about that guy? It's great, for sports talk. It's still not solving any problems for the Yankees itself.
The thing that I find interesting though is the fact that there's no smoke without fire. First of all, if if guys like Buster Olney is saying that the Yankees might not sign anybody at all, I mean that's a pretty good indicator that it's around baseball that the Yankees have a pretty firm budget in place. And by the way, let's not forget, Hal Steinbrenner said so himself. He said, I would love to have a lower payroll next year, ideally. So ideally, he would love to have a lower budget. So it's not exactly beyond the realms of comprehension to suggest that 300 million is their cutoff point. Go look in the chat. Salute, look at. Thank you, man. So yeah, back to my earlier point. So to say from Brian Cashman again, this is kind of catty from Brian. I haven't been told by Hal anything, but you can ask Michael more about it if you want. Seems needlessly catty from Cashman.
I want to put a pin on the discussion for a second. Bless you. Just general disclaimer in the chat. You guys want to debate amongst yourselves. It's perfectly fine. Just don't make it personal. There's our disclaimer. No, it's. I like this. I want to bring up this one comment from G1. Right. Yeah. It's a cool name. All these talk show hosts are selling a dream. Yeah, we are. That's what we do. Read what the narrative is. Castro believes they have a good team, and the owner complaining about spending money. We only care about. It looks like he ran out of characters. But I would assume the final thing was we only care about championships, because that is what we care about. So, yeah, Cashman believes. Of course, he's going to believe that he has a good team put together. He put it together.
That's true.
You think he's going to put all these players on the field and be like, man, this team sucks? Well, now you're criticizing your own work, which is fine. I mean, there are times we won't come off the air and I'm like, I was terrible today, or you know what, we had a good rhythm today, but and how, yes, he's worrying about his shareholders. He's not. Look, the quicker we drop this notion or this desire to have him be like his father, the quicker we get past that, we're just going to see for what it is. Yes, we're always going to want George back. We want that mentality, and George was not perfect. Believe me, he had a lot of flaws in the 80s and the early 90s. His flaws are why Stick Michael was able to save the Yankees, because that's really what happened. And then, George wised up and was like, all right, you put it together. But what I want to see, if there was one quality that I would want to see in Hal that his father had, was the accountability. Being in the forefront. Being visible, right? We talked about this last week. Yep. George, you would walk around the ballpark. He would hang out during batting practice. He would sit in the suite during a game and stare at you. You knew he was watching. And if you did not live up to the expectations, you were going to know it. Spinning the slide, that's what I want from Hal. That's all I ask for, which is free. Being available to the team doesn't cost you anything. So you want to save a couple of bucks? That's how you can do it and still satisfy a portion of the fan base.
Set a standard, my friend. As you say, exactly. Set the standard. I'm completely with you on that. budget aside, set a standard, set a goal, set a vision, and ensure that that vision is enforced and ensure that vision is carried out to the best of its ability. That's what I'm asking for my owner. And how does the bare minimum? We joke that he's the absentee landlord, but in essence, what he does is he makes the 300 million available, and then he just disappears. And I don't think that that is enough. It's not enough for an organization the caliber of the Yankees. So I know there's going to be some fans that maybe watch this go, why are they so unhappy? I mean, they go to the playoffs every year and all that stuff. But
which is fine.
But,
we appreciate that.
Fine. Yeah. But what I'm trying to say is what I'm trying to say is that the Yankees are a caliber of organization that you have to remember is historic. And it should be the gold standard of sports organizations in the world. It should be. And other organizations that are of a similar size to the Yankees have a ton of expectations, right? There's very few organizations around the world, in the world of sports, that have the kind of expectations that the Yankees do and the kind of reach that the Yankees do. It's very few. We're talking around the world. We're talking about the Los Angeles Lakers. We're talking like in soccer, it'd be like Real Madrid, Barcelona. These are like the gold standard organizations in the world. And the Yankees are right there. And every other organization have big standards. They look to get better, right? They look to get better. The Dodgers have added themselves into that realm. They weren't before, but they are in that realm now. And the way that they have operated is very freaking smart. They're always forward thinking. They're always thinking ahead. And they've blitzed the Yankees. They've blitzed the Yankees in free agencies. They've blitzed the Yankees in terms of basically completely owning the Japanese market. They've blitzed the Yankees in terms of international development. They've blitzed the Yankees across the board. So the Yankees don't have to look that far. Just look across the West Coast. And they should be looking at themselves going, how can we be better? But what they're doing is they're just trading off their name. They're trading off their past. And that's why us as fans keep talking about the past, because there's nothing to talk about right now. Right? But it's true. They keep trading on the past in order to sell us, well, the future, but there's not really.
What's the future look like?
Well, exactly. There's questions as to the future because they don't have a vision. We don't know what the vision is. And all I want is a vision. If the vision was we really want to develop Spencer Jones and Jason Dominguez and Ben Rice, Austin Wells, Volpe. We really want to develop our prospects, right? So we're going to take a step back in terms of high spend, and we're going to really develop our prospects.
See what we have, yeah.
And we see what we have. That's part of the long-term vision. I can get behind that as long as there's a vision, right? But when you keep talking about, so fans that say that we don't know how to lose is nonsense. It's the fact that we just don't have a vision. That's what I'm annoyed at, right? Heck, we've been losing since 2009. Let's be honest, right? In the postseason, that is. So it's not like it's not going to be the end of the world if we take a step back for a couple of years and really see what we have in terms of our prospects. But we don't get that. What we get is every year it's like, oh, we want to build a championship team. We want to build a championship team. We want to build a championship team. But they don't do anything that would indicate that they actually want to win the championship because they don't make the moves necessary to win the championship. Hence the disappointment. Hence the anger. It's like they sell us one thing, but they really do. They don't carry that forward. So that's the frustration. And I genuinely have not a clue what the Yankees are planning on doing. The only thing I have an idea is that they're going in and Cody Bellinger. They'll maybe make a trade for a starting pitcher, maybe sign one, and hope for the best. Does that really sound like a vision that could compete with the Dodgers?
No. It's like going to a Mercedes dealership, and leaving it a Ford. It's like we go into the off season expecting to walk out with something great, and coming, and it's no disrespect to Ford, but you understand what I'm saying. Ford and Mercedes are not comparable. Our expectations and the Yankees front office expectations are not comparable. Ours are higher. And that's what leads, like, you always hear this, and I think you're onto something, Donald, what you were saying, is trying to read between the lines a little bit. They always want to live on their past. You have, you always hear the 27-time World Series. Well, it's not going to be much longer the way the organization's going, where you're going to have a generation that never saw a championship.
We're already there.
And, to me, 2009 still seems like yesterday.
Same. But you're right. It's not.
It's actually further away than once you actually think about it.
It's 16 years, bro. I mean, there's fans out there that
the young fans don't know what they've never seen a
championship when they were like 5 years old.
Now I just feel so much older.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So they haven't experienced the winning, and they deserve to experience it. But I think that's where the fan base diverges. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, there's a divergence. Like, there's some that are unhappy that they haven't seen it in their adult life. And then there's the ones that are older that have seen it and are pissed that this is where we're at.
Like
that it's no longer really in the realms of possibility now, i.e. us. But then there's fans, and I'm not speaking for everyone, but there are a lot of fans out there that are very, very happy just to make it to the postseason every year, puff up their chest and say, hey, we make the postseason every single year. And they have a good time going to the games. They have a good time really, waving pom-poms for them. And I'm sorry, I'm not waving pom-poms for this. This is the Yankees. You should be in the postseason. It's a postseason now where it's kind of watered down because there's a ton of teams that make the postseason every year. It's kind of hard to miss the postseason as long as you kind of don't do anything embarrassing, right? If you're, let's face it, the Yankees have been riding Aaron Judge's coattails to the postseason most years. He's good enough. He's like a 10, 12 WAR player. He's capable of doing a lot of this stuff himself. And he gets you to the postseason, and then it's up. Then once you get there, then you need the quality of your roster to carry you through, and we just don't have enough depth. And we never do. And there's no accountability for it. And round we go.
But I was going to say, before we get to our final comments here,
don't forget the Blue Jays owner to the Yankees owner. That's a good point.
Yep. Yeah, and if you want to join the chat, it's very easy. It's very free. Even Hal could afford it. Just hit that sub button if you want to join the chat, and if you are enjoying the show, just hit that like button and share this out. There's something else, right? They're always talking about, do you go with your farm system? Do you trust your youth? The Yankee fans want to, they don't have patience for that. Yes, we do. Like you said earlier, Donald. Yes, we do. because if you remember the transition from 2016 and going into 2017 with all the youth that they were bringing up with
Yeah.
Judge and Sanchez and Bird, Severino, like we were all for it. Like, all right, let's get the next generation going. And we
Right.
rallied behind them, and they gave us a great year. And they were still able to make the playoffs. And we said
2017 was my
we
favorite
said
year.
it. We thought 2017 was probably in the last, and that was one of our favorite years in the recent past. I would say
Right.
that and the Soto year. The Soto year was fun. Disappointing how it ended, but like we were hyped up.
There we go. You just named it. 2017 and the Soto year, right? So now you can characterize that.
Yep.
2017 was a vision. The Juan Soto year was a vision, right? Now, two different versions, but they were a vision nonetheless, and we were excited by it.
Well, they had a
The
direction.
Juan Soto year, just let me finish the point. The Juan Soto year was the all-out, that should have been the all-out year. Juan Soto, Aaron Judge, we're the big bad Yankees, we're coming to town. How did it work out? We made the World Series, right? If they made a couple more moves, they probably would have won the World Series, right? That's why we were excited. They had a vision, right? 2017, it was a different type of vision, but we were excited for the same vision. Nonetheless, this was our baby Bombers year, right? The little engine that could year.
Yep.
And boy, was it fun. And we did get robbed of a World Series place by cheating, right? Now, I'm not going any further than that. What did happen. We were robbed, but we can't keep crying about it 8 years later, right? But 2017 was a great year. So this is where I attack any writer or attack anyone that says the Yankee fans don't know how to lose or they are always unhappy. That's not the case. We can buy a vision. I'm all in. If you want to go all in like they did with Juan Soto, I'm all in. Or if you sell me a vision like, you know what? This is going to be our prospects year. I'm going to buy it because at least there's a vision. But this current state of affairs, I'm not buying. I'm not accepting. Because this is, we kind of want to win a championship, but we're kind of, let's be fair, we're kind of budget conscious. We don't really want to go in for a championship. So we're just going to leave a bunch of positions unanswered, and then we're going to gaslight you that they're brilliant. I'm not buying that shit. I'm sorry. There's not an aspect of me that will ever buy any of that crap. And that's where we're at right now. This is crap. If you're trying to sell me a championship and you're going to then just walk away with either doing nothing at all or at best Cody Bellinger, I'm not buying it because it's not enough. Because that's just rolling it back. And treading water is going backwards. It's kind of like if you're in the middle of the sea and you're treading water. If the tide's out, you're going out. You're going to be going backwards, right? It's true. So you need to start moving frickin' forward. And the Yankees do not move forward because they are self-satisfied. Let me repeat it. For those in the back, those sitting in the bleachers, those in the nosebleed section, the Yankees are self-satisfied. Write it down because that is the truth. That is the truth. And that's what you're going to get from this channel. You're going to get the truth. The Yankees are self-satisfied. And if it's up to us to beat the drum that they should be more than that, then we're willing to do it because this is not acceptable. The Yankees are better than this. They are. Tats, do you want to get into some of the chat and do a roll call and bring up some of the comments before we?
Yeah, we'll close it out with that. Chat's been awesome the last few shows, and it is so much appreciated. It drives us to continue, for the discussions. I'm going to bring up one. I know I put a star on one to go back to. Stuff and Things is big heavy hitter in the chat lately. Not taking any away from current or past Yankees surrounding him, but the last pure clutch hitter that the Yankees had, in my opinion, was Robinson Cano within the past 15 years. Robbie Cano is a phenomenal bat. Phenomenal bat. Um, and it just goes, look how far back you had to go for our last pure clutch hitter. You had to, even like what we were saying, the last two seasons that we enjoyed was 2017 and 2024. One of them, Boone wasn't even a manager yet. So we've only had one season where we're really, excited since Boone's been the manager, where they actually showed that they had a proper vision. And that's a big problem. But yeah, they do need to start developing guys. Judge can be categorized as a power hitter and a contact hitter. He doesn't hit for power. He's just that freaking big and strong. As long as you put the level swing on it, he's gonna hit it, wherever. And he'll spray it around the field. He's not, one dimensional. But I understand what you're saying with Cano. You're absolutely right. I know there was also Healing Men's Hearts. He goes, Blue Jays could do nothing and still finish over the Yankees. That's how bad the Yankees are now. Yeah. In my gut, my feelings, in my feelings now, I think the Yankees are going to do nothing. My gut says if this is not the team they're going to roll into on opening day, there will be changes. It just I don't know if they're going to go in the fans' favor or house favor to stay under a budget. Because I think that if they're serious about staying under the 300, there's no way that this team is going to finish above 500 this year. They will have a losing season. They will not have a roster strong enough to weather the storm.
Wow.
And I think the streak will end having
You
being
think
above
so?
500. Yeah.
I'm not going to go as far as that, but hey, I don't. I'm not going to go
You're
as far as
saying this
below
team right
500.
now is
Because even a couple of years ago, when they missed the playoffs, they didn't finish below 500. So they'll finish above 500. But if you want to talk championships, this is not a championship caliber operation or organization. So that's where I'm focused on, and I just don't see a championship here. I just don't. But we do have a great rotation, and that's what's so frustrating. We have such a great rotation, man.
Well,
We don't even talk about how great this rotation is. This rotation is phenomenal. You're talking about Garrett Cole when he's healthy, Rodon when he's healthy, Max Fried when he's healthy. That's the best 1-2-3 punch in baseball, flat out, right? And then when you look at, then you're talking about the guys like Louis Heel, who's unbelievable. I mean, geez, Lou. Then we had one of the greatest starts of all time against Boston. We've got tons to look forward to pitching rotation wise. And if you add like an Imai, then the rotation is going to be unbelievable. So that's exciting. But they really need to start paying attention to this lineup because it needs work. It seriously needs work. So I'm reading the Athletic article on where the Yankees might look to add a right-handed bat. Okay, this is Chris Kirschner. So obviously, he says that the best right-handed guys on the market, we know who they are. Obviously, it goes without saying. Pete Alonso, Bo Bichette. Those are the premier right-handed bats, but it's costly and probably not what the Yankees are looking for. Okay, Alex Bregman as well, but again, all three positions are occupied, according to Brian Cashman. So he's brought up a couple of other names. St. Louis Cardinals first baseman Wilson Contreras is open to waiving his no trade clause. Wilson Contreras is a 124 WRC plus, which is really good, and is one of the best righty bats who could be moved this offseason. Another name, Tel Marte of the Arizona Diamondbacks, but second base is occupied by Jazz Chisholm. So unless the Yankees look to trade Jazz Chisholm, maybe they would then make a deal to bring in Ketel Marte to add that righty bat. Another name that was brought up would be Cincinnati Reds utility man Spencer Steer, who would be a fit in the open market. Byron Buxton of the Twins is not expected to be dealt. Another name mentioned is Philadelphia Phillies third baseman Alec Bohm. I like Bohm a lot offensively too. So those are some names to maybe keep an eye out on. But it would require maybe making a trade that you maybe don't fancy doing, like moving away a Jazz Chisholm to maybe bring in a Ketel Marte or something like that. So those are certainly some suggestions in terms of, we were talking about creative trades, creative acquisitions. Those are some of the names that have been kind of bandied about. I mean, listen, Wilson Contreras, I'd be on board with that. You could move Ben Reichs to catcher. That would be a smart move. I love Marte. No questions there. So, I mean, there are some creative trades that you could make. But it certainly looks like on the free agent side, it's basically Cody Bellinger or nothing.
Yeah. I don't understand that. I understand, but I don't. Everybody's so done with Jazz at second. He's a good second baseman. He's a good bat. He's good on the bases. If he cleaned up his headspace a little bit, I think he'd win over a lot more fans than he loses. I like Jazz. I always said, if you're gonna run your mouth, back it up. And then you can trash talk all the hell you want. I don't care. Just if you're gonna step up to the plate, bring your bat with you. And that's Jazz's problem. It's not his on-field play. It's not his talent.
No.
But I will say before we close out, I'm going to correct myself. I think I was a little harsh with their record this year because the chat has built a strong case for me to exactly. It's between his ears. Yeah, that's my own. I said it a lot of times during the year. He was going to nail during the award show, and if you're new to the channel, wait till the regular season. Our awards are a blast. You're going to enjoy them.
G-Monk, yeah, I agree. This team constructed will not make it. Oh, wow. G-Monk doesn't think we'll make the playoffs. This is interesting. As constructed. I certainly bite back on the idea that we'd miss the playoffs because it's hard to miss the playoffs with the 3 wildcard teams. So I still think that they probably make the playoffs as constituted, but
maybe they're the last wildcard team at this point.
They just seem satisfied with that, and I'm not satisfied with that.
No.
Not after this amount of time. We've been making the playoffs consistently since 2009. I'm losing. It's about getting to the World Series. It's about getting to the dance. Anything short of that, I'm sorry. You can maybe sell me an ALCS. I'm sorry. You cannot sell me a DS and an obliteration in the DS and for me to be happy clappies about that. I mean, come on. What are we? We're the Yankees.
That's the big question. But where are the Yankees? And we're going to see in the next couple of days what the headlines show and how the narrative spins if the Yankees are going to find themselves again and be the Yankees. A lot of people are doubtful on that. And you can't argue. You can't say that they're wrong. The Yankees haven't done anything where you're like, all right, this team is getting back. There's like we mentioned before, right now we see what the team's vision is. We're good.
Right.
We don't know that vision yet, and until we do, we can't lock into a season. But we do appreciate everybody that was
I
locked
agree
into
with
us.
Ron here. I would rather have Ben Rice as a top-notch offensive catcher with mediocre D, like a Jorge Posada. I agree with that. That's exactly what I agree with. Like Ben Rice should be our catcher, not our first base.
Yeah, and I'm not opposed to that either. Am I giving up on Wells? Absolutely not. We got to see what could be unlocked with him yet. But
let's go Yankees, is Mr. M. Thank you so much for the comment. We've had a really, really popular chat. We've had tons of views. At one point, we had almost 100 people in the chat. So a salute to you guys. Anybody watching on YouTube, if you could hit that like button for us, it helps in tons of ways. It helps the algorithm. It helps more people be aware of the channel. We really want to bring the best content possible to you guys. And in order to do so, a lot of it is driven by algorithm and by likes and by hitting the hype button and sharing it out and all those kind of things. So if you could really do us a big, big, big favor and hit that like button. It's free. It takes you 1 second of your time. Please hit the like button. And that's really it. Hit the like button, hit the share button, and do all the good stuff, and we will get you as much good content as we possibly can. Thank you, G Money. Really do appreciate the kind words.
Yep. And I know a lot of people are wondering where Rob has been. Rob has had a schedule change at work, so his availability has changed. But like we've said before, we promise you, he's very much involved with what's going on behind the scenes. He is coming back at some point. His days off, you've seen, he will jump on. But we do miss Rob. His points of view, he's just as good as anybody in the YouTube community. We're blessed to have him as a friend and a partner here. But we do miss him, and he does always send his best to everybody, as you guys send your best to him. So with that, we are going to say that's going to be a cool show for us today. Just make sure you do, like Donald said, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, share this out with your friends, your family, the strangers on the corner. This is Pitchtrack Chronicles. I'm Uncle Tats with Donald and all of you fun people. Just remember to wear those pinstripes of pride and play hard.